Welcome back to DZ's Daily Devotions. Today we're on day 55 of reading the entire Bible in 365 days. That's right, 1 year we're reading the whole Bible, and today is 55. Thank you for joining me. So we're picking up where we left off in Leviticus chapter 15 verse 1, and we're going to stop there at chapter 16 verse 28. Chapter 15, Bodily Discharges. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Any man who has bodily discharges is ceremonial unclean. This is defilement and is caused by discharge, whether a discharge continues or stops. In either case, the man is unclean. Any bed on which the man has the discharge lies, and anything he sits on will be ceremonially unclean. So if you touch the man's bed, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If you sit where the man his discharge has sat, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and it will remain unclean until the evening. If you touch the man with the discharge, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If the man spits on you, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. Any blanket on which the man rides will be ceremonially unclean. If you touch anything that was under the man, you will be unclean until the evening. You must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If the man touches you without first rinsing his hands, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself, and you remain unclean until the evening. Any pot the man touches must be broken. Any wooden utensils he touches must be rinsed with water. When the man discharges healed, he must count off 7 days for the period of purification. Then must wash his clothes and bathe himself in fresh water, and he will be ceremonially clean. On the 8th day he must get 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons and come before the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle. Give his offerings to the priest. The priest will offer 1 bird for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. Through this process the priest will purify the man before the Lord for his discharge. When a man has an emission of semen, he must bathe his entire body and will remain unclean till the evening. Any cloth or leather or semen on it must be washed in water and will remain unclean till the evening. A man or a woman have sexual intercourse, they each bathe each other in water and will remain unclean until the next evening. Whenever a woman has her menstrual period, she will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days. Anyone touching her there in that time will be unclean until the evening. Anything on which the woman lies or sits on during that time of her period will be unclean. If you touch her bed, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. If you touch any object she has sat on, you must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean until the evening. This includes her bed or any other object she has sat on. You will remain unclean until the evening if you touch it. If a man has sexual intercourse with her and her blood touches him, her menstrual impurity will transmit to him, and he will remain unclean for 7 days. Any bed he lies on will be unclean. If a woman has a flow of blood for many days that is unrelated to her menstrual period, or the blood continues beyond the normal period, she is ceremonially unclean. During a menstrual period, the woman will be unclean until as long as the discharge continues. Any bed she lies on or any object she sits on during that time will be unclean, just during her normal menstrual period. If you touch any of those things, you will be ceremonially unclean. You must wash your clothes and bathe yourself in water, and you will remain unclean till the evening. When the woman's bleed stops, she must count off 7 days, then she will be ceremonially clean. On the 8th day she must bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons to present them to the priest at the entrance of the tabernacle. The priest will offer 1 for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. Through this process the priest will purify her before the Lord, and she will be ceremonially impurity caused by her bleeding. This is how you guard the people of Israel from ceremonially uncleanness. Otherwise they will die, and their impurity will defile the tabernacle that stands among them. These are instructions for dealing with anyone who has bodily discharge, a man or a woman who is unclean because of the emission of semen, or a woman during her menstrual period. It applies to any man or woman who has bodily discharge, to a man who has sexual intercourse with a woman who is ceremonially unclean. Chapter 16, A Day of Atonement. The Lord said to Moses after the death of Aaron's 2 sons who died as they entered the Lord's presence, and they burnt the king of fire before him. The Lord said to Moses, "Warn your brother Aaron not to enter the most holy place beyond the inner curtain whenever he chooses. If he does, he will die. For the ark's cover, the place of atonement is there, and I myself present in the cloud of the atonement cover. When Aaron enters the sanctuary, he must follow these instructions fully. He must bring a young bull for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. He must put on his linen tunic and his linen undergarments worn next to his body. He must tie the linen sash around his waist, and then the linen turban on his head. These are the sacred garments, so he must bathe himself in water before he puts them on. Aaron must take to the community of Israel 2 male goats for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. Aaron will present his own bull as a sin offering to purify himself and his family, making them right with the Lord. They must take 2 male goats and present them to the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle. He has cast sacred lots to determine which goat will be reserved as an offering for the Lord and which will carry the sins of the people at the wilderness of Israel. Aaron will then present a sin offering to the goat chosen by the lot for the Lord. The other goat, the scapegoat chosen by the lot, will send away, kept alive, standing before the Lord. When it is sent away to Azal in the wilderness, the people will be purified and made right with the Lord. Aaron will present his own bull as a sin offering to purify himself and his family, making them right with the Lord. After he slaughtered the bull as a sin offering, he will fill an incense burner with burning coals from the altar that stands before the Lord. Then he will take 2 handfuls of powdered incense and carry the burner and the incense behind the inner curtain. The Lord's presence will be put in the incense of the burning coals so that the cloud of incense will rise over the ark's cover, the place of atonement that rests on the ark of the covenant. If he follows these instructions, he will not die. Then he must take some of the blood of the bull, dip his finger in it, sprinkle some on the east side of the atonement cover. He must sprinkle the blood 7 times on his finger in front of the atonement cover. Then Aaron must slaughter the first goat as a sin offering for the people, and carry its blood behind the inner curtain. There he will sprinkle the goat's blood over the atonement cover, and in the front of it, just as he did with the bull's blood. Through this process, he will purify the most holy place, and he will do the same thing for the entire tabernacle, because of the defiling sin and the rebelling of the Israelites. No one else is allowed inside the tabernacle when Aaron enters for the purification ceremony in the most holy place. No one may enter until he comes out again after purifying himself, his family, and all the congregation of Israel, making them right with the Lord. Then Aaron will come out to purify the altar that stands before the Lord. He will do this by taking some of the blood from each of the bull and the goat and putting each horns on the altar. Then he must sprinkle some blood on his finger 7 times over the altar. In this way he will cleanse it from the Israelites' defilement and make it holy. When Aaron finishes purifying the most holy place in the tabernacle and the altar, he must present the live goat. He will lay both hands on the goat's head and confess it over the wickedness, rebellion, and the sins of Israel. In this way he will transfer the people's sins to the head of the goat. Then a man specially chosen for the task will drive the goat into the wilderness. As the goat goes into the wilderness, it will carry the people's sins upon itself into the desolate land. When Aaron goes back into the tabernacle, he must take off the linen garments he was wearing when he entered the most holy place. He must leave the garments there. Then he must bathe himself with water in the sacred place, put on his regular garments, go out to sacrifice a burnt offering for himself, a burnt offering for the people. Through this process he will purify himself and the people, making them right with the Lord. He must then burn all the fat for a sin offering at the altar. The man chosen to drive the scapegoat into the wilderness of Azal must wash his clothes and bathe himself in water. Then he can return to camp. The bull and the goat presented as a sin offering, whose blood Aaron takes into the most holy place for the purification ceremony, will be carried outside the camp. The animal's hides, internal organs, and dung are all burned. The man who burns them must wash his clothes and bathe himself in water before returning to camp. We're going to leave off there in Leviticus. We'll pick up again tomorrow, but let's go ahead and move on to Mark, where we left off in Mark chapter 7. We're going to be reading verses 1 to 23. Chapter 7. Jesus teaches about inner purity. One day, some Pharisees and teachers of religious law arrived from Jerusalem to see Jesus. They noticed that some of his disciples failed to follow the Jewish ritual of hand washing before eating. The Jews, especially the Pharisees, do not eat until they have poured water over their hands, as required by their ancient traditions. Similarly, they don't eat anything from the market until they immerse their hands in water. This is about many of the traditions, including such as their ceremonial washing of cups, pitchers, and kettles. So the Pharisees and teachers of religious law asked them, "Why don't your disciples follow the age-old tradition? They eat without performing hand-washing ceremony." Jesus replied, "You hypocrites! Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you, for he wrote, 'The people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship is farce. They teach man-made ideas as commands from God. For you ignore God's laws and substitute your own tradition.'" Then he said, "You skillfully sidestep God's law in order to hold your own tradition. For instance, Moses gave you this law from God: honor your father and mother, and anyone who speaks disrespectfully of father and mother must be put to death. But you say that it is right for the people to say to their parents, 'Sorry, I can't help you, for I have vowed to give God what I have given you.' In this way you let them disregard their needy parents, and so you cancel the word of God in order to hand down your own tradition." And this is one example of many others. Then Jesus called to the crowd to come here. "All you listen," he said, "and try to understand. It is not what goes into your body that defiles you. You are defiled by what comes from your heart." Then Jesus went into the house to get away from the crowd, and his disciples asked him what he meant by the parable he had just used. "Don't you understand either?" he asked. "Can't you see the food you put into your body cannot defile you? Food does not go into your heart, but only passes through the stomach and then goes to the sewer. By saying this, he declared everything of food acceptable in God's eyes. And then he added, it is what comes from inside you that defiles you. For within, out of the person's heart comes evil thoughts, sexual impurity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, wickedness, deceit, lustful desires, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. All these things vile you, come from within, and they are what defile you. We're going to leave off there in Mark. Let's go ahead and read our psalm for the day. We left off in Psalm 40, and we're going to be reading verses 11 through 17. Lord, don't hold me back your tender mercies from me. Let your unfailing love and faithfulness always protect me. For my troubles surround me too many to count. My sins pile up so high, I can't see my way out. They outnumber the hairs on my head. I have lost all courage. Please, Lord, rescue me. Come quickly, Lord, and help me. May those who try to destroy me be humiliated and put to shame. May those who take delight in my trouble be burned and disgraced. Let them be horrified by their shame, for they said, aha, we got him now. But may all who search for you be filled with joy and gladness in you. May those who love your salvation repeatedly shout, the Lord is great. As for me, since I am poor and needy, let the Lord keep me in his thought. You are my helper and my savior. Oh my God, do not delay. Let's leave off there in Psalms. We're going to go ahead and finish out today in Proverbs chapter 10 verses 13 and 14. Wise words come from the lips of people with understanding, but the lacking sense will be beaten with a rod. Wise people treasure knowledge, but the babbling of a fool invites disaster. That has been day 55 of DZ's Daily Devotions. Can you believe it? We've made it this far, and I couldn't done it without you from your support at Patreon. Seriously, go check me out at www.patreon.com/youngnemo. That's how you make this possible. That's how we make it happen. I'll leave a link in the description, so check that out. Before you leave, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell button for notifications when my next video comes out, and cause I be seeing you guys every single day. And if you like this, support a little bit. I'll see you on day 56.